Hi everyone, welcome back to the garden. And after a couple of days of absolutely beautiful spring sunshine, we're now back to traditional bank holiday weather. And in fact, we've had our first thunderstorm today, loads of rain for the garden, and it's going to be warming up. So that'll be fantastic for really getting things growing. And on the subject of getting things growing, one of my favourite plants that I look forward to seeing every single spring, you can keep your tulips, your daffodils, yes, they're great and everything, but for me, it's all about the Gunnera Manicata, the giant Brazilian rhubarb. Like a mythical sea creature, like something from outer space. A lot of your comments, my recent pictures over on Instagram, they sum it up perfectly. There really is no other plant like Gunnera Manicata, and it's something I look forward to seeing every single year. And today, on this beautiful rainy day, we'll be dividing it to make even more plants. So let's get started. As the weather continues to oscillate between beautiful warm sunshine and very heavy showers, I'll give you a quick update on where the Gunnera are now. So this is the original plant that I had at our old house. I got it in around 2017, kept it potted for a couple of years, and it grew very well. As you can see now, it's really starting to get some height at rhizome. The bigger the rhizome, the bigger the leaves, and hopefully it'll soon be a reflection of the Gunnera you see down in Treba. The ones in Cornwall really are fantastic. And this Gunnera was actually a division of the biggest Gunnera plant I've seen myself outside of Cornwall. So hopefully it has the genes and the potential to really grow into something majestic. But anyway, a couple of years after I got it, I noticed it had some offsets, kind of like it has now. So I made two divisions from it. This one here, I actually split it up in around 2019. We moved here, planted out in 2020, and as you can see, that plant is already well on its way to being something monstrous this year. And then there was a third plant, which is this one here. So I uncovered these plants, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. There was a very cold night, -2, so I fleeced them. As you can see, there's a little bit of damage there, but I'm not worried about a tiny bit of damage to the edges of the leaves. The main plants look okay, the leaves are lime zingy green coloured, and they're ready to really grow this year. But my plans for this area, well, firstly, this Gunnera here, seeing it at this time of the year doesn't really tell you how big it's going to get. This Gunnera, the leaves, even last year, pretty much touched the top of that tree fern, and that's an 8-foot tree fern. You don't really realise and appreciate when you get these plants just how big they get. The leaves themselves are around 2 metres across, and they're on stalks that are over 1 metre long. So a plant like this has a wingspan of around 6 metres. So that plant in the middle, I really want this one to get as big as it can possibly get. The ones at the edges though, those can be controlled a little bit, actually split up, and that's where this one comes in. As you can see there, this plant, you've got the main central crown, and then you've got these two smaller offsets from it. So today I'm going to dig those up, split them off, and create two more plants. As you can see, these are real beauties, and I'm sure they're going to create magnificent plants just like these in a couple of years' time. One of these will be going to Jane and Alan. You might see my video looking around their incredible Winterton exotic garden. Well, they visited me around a year or two back and brought me a load of plants, so I'm returning the favour and giving them one of these beauties. Not just any old Gunnera Manicata, these are plants with real potential. And the other one, well, we'll see. I might have some plans for that. So let's get the tools up first and get going. And to be honest with you, when I say tools, very simple. I've got some gloves and a Hori Hori. If you haven't used a Hori Hori before, I'd definitely recommend it. Japanese for dig, they really are such a helpful tool with a sharp edge there and even more sharp serrated side there. They're really handy for digging up plants, getting rid of weeds, and also splitting up tough plants. I'll put a link to this one in the description below. The price might have gone up a bit recently, not an affiliate link, just to show you where I got it from because it really is a cool tool. So enough of the talking, let's get on with splitting the Gunnera up. Just to show you in a bit more detail then, these are what I refer to as the crowns of the plant. As you can see, these ones here are a lot smaller. They only appeared at the back end of last year, whereas that is the original part that this plant came from. And what I'll be doing is literally getting the Hori Hori, you could use a sharp spade or something like that, and chopping across there, down there, and across there. So yes, it will damage the roots of the main plant a little bit, but Gunnera, they are very forgiving. Because after all, the plant I first started with was literally the same size as one of those. And now, even after being chopped up, hacked about, it's that size. So they're certainly very adaptable, very forgiving. Do you need to divide your Gunnera? No, you don't. If you leave it to it, if you've got the room for one monstrous clump, then certainly leaving it alone will really create an absolute beast. Massive leaves, stalks that tower over your head. Definitely, if you can leave it, leave it. But with this plant here, I don't really need huge leaves pointing this direction. I've got that tree fern there, and I've got the two other bigger plants to my right-hand side. So it's a great opportunity, with the way that these ones are set out, to chop them up and get some free plants to share the Gunnera love about. You might be wondering when you should divide your Gunnera Manicata if you want to. Personally, I'd say now is a great time. Anywhere from March to probably late April, the plants are in active growth, which personally I think is always the best time to divide a plant. But the leaves aren't so big that they're going to lose loads of moisture because the root system will be slightly damaged by it. So I wouldn't do it in the middle of summer. Plants like Gunnera with big leaves are definitely stressed out then anyway. If you do it now, the ground's wet, there's a nice bit of heat coming through, it's the perfect opportunity for the plant to reroot and get growing again this year. In fact, I don't think the main plant will be set back at all. Why I don't tend to actually split plants in autumn is for two reasons. Firstly, very practically, if you split these plants in autumn, you've then got more younger plants to look after in either a greenhouse, polytunnel, they take up more space. And secondly, when it comes to plants like Gunnera, Cannas and gingers especially, if you're chopping them up at the back end of the year, you're actually splitting those stems, you're creating wounds in the plant if you like. And I don't think it's a great idea to leave those over winter where cold can actually cause rot to set in, especially when it comes to Cannas. So this time of year for me is great. Gunnera in the ground, Cannas in the polytunnel, get them split up and you'll see new growth in no time at all. So anyway, enough talking once again, let's get on with chopping it up. So, manky gloves on so I don't get the camera too muddy, Hori Hori in hand. I feel like some kind of brave Roman gladiator or potentially just a hobbit. Either way, it's a great tool for really slicing these plants up. So first things first, I'm just going to move some of this rotted leaf matter here so I can see what I'm doing. And then it literally is a case of chopping the plants up. Wearing my old clothes today, so it doesn't matter if I get too muddy. You shouldn't probably stand in wet soil, but I'm doing it anyway. And I think first things first, I'll go for this back one here. There's actually another smaller one pushing through there, but we'll save that for now. And I literally use this pointed blade to chop around the plants. What I'm going to do is literally slice between the mother plant and the offset first, and then I'll try to use a spade from the other side to cause as little damage as possible. There's definitely some woody stem in there, but we'll get it. And now we'll go through that one. I think with plants like this, bamboo, you just have to be brutal with them. Yes, you're cutting through the roots, but it's all about creating new life, new plants, and the old plant will grow back again anyway. So that looks good to me. And now what I think I'll do is grab a spade and we'll get them dug up. Spade at the ready then, we'll get the plants out of the ground. And again, being as careful as I can, I think we'll go somewhere there and see what we get. Tell you what, that wind's getting up again. There's another storm coming. I better hurry up. There's definitely some root system beneath these. There we go. I don't know how well that sound came across the mic, but that was such a satisfying sort of crunching sound as the roots broke. And there we go. Look at that. That is a beautiful little plant. Now, it's not quite the same as helping birth a lamb, but for me, this really is one of those amazing magical Easter moments. A beautiful Gunnera Manicata, and it's got plenty of roots there, so this will settle in nicely. We'll get the next one out. putting up a fight. But I am being careful not to swivel the main plant too much. And there we go. That satisfying crunch once again. Still got some roots attached, I think. And there is the second lump of Gunnera Manicata. It's got quite an unusual sort of shape to that one, but you can see there, that's why I don't tend to split these plants in late autumn going into winter, because that exposed would surely not necessarily rot, but definitely help introduce it. So as you can see, some of the roots are a little bit damaged. That's going to happen. Now I need to get these potted up in some pots that are just about big enough for them, and I'll use some peat-free compost to hopefully help them settle into their new homes. So another storm's almost upon us. I've filled that hole there with compost. Hopefully you can hear me over the wings. It's getting pretty wild here now. It's now time to pot these two up. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend doing this on a hot day because they would have dried out by now, but today that's definitely not a risk. So first things first, I'm using the same peat-free compost I used in my last video because I've still got half a bag of it. I'm using the smaller pot for the one that I'm giving away, and this larger pot for the one that I'm growing on. Not entirely sure what I'm doing with it yet, so that pot will work. Obviously I could plant it straight into the ground if I knew exactly where it was going, but this way I can keep them somewhere sheltered. But before I go into the care tips of these new plants, I'll get them potted up. And I'm starting off by putting a bit of compost in the bottom because they're quite tall plants. And then I think we'll go for that one in the taller pot. It sits nicely. If I just bend those roots in very carefully, just like that. And that one can go in there. But to be fair, whichever one grows best is the one that I'll give to Jane and Alan anyway. And then it's literally just a case of putting the peat-free compost around them, which again, I should have broken up in a gorilla tub or something before I put in, but I didn't. Do you know what? After such a beautiful couple of days, I really should have my video then, shouldn't I? Rather than today, but I actually managed to get a full day of digging in the garden, which I wouldn't have liked to do today, so it's not all a massive failure. And for those of you who are eagerly awaiting my fire pit series to continue, some progress there, and it will be starting up the video series again next month. And I'm really trying to get it to a point where progress happens quickly to make for some interesting viewing, so I'm looking forward to that. So, let's pack that in around it. That wind is getting strong now. Maybe by the time you're watching this, the storm has actually hit. I know later this week we're going to have some really strong winds, potentially 60, 70 mile an hour plus gusts. Nowhere near that today, but it's still blustery enough. So, something like that. All I'm basically doing is getting the compost levels to exactly the same soil level before, but making sure there's enough room in the pot for water. Now we'll just move on to the smaller one. Again, I should have broken this compost down, shouldn't I? Just let it fall through. Like this. So when it comes to care tips then, the first priority, anytime you split a plant up like this, is to give it a good watering. That wind is absolutely rattling around now. But as long as it doesn't start a full-on monsoon again, I'll keep recording. I'll tell you what, as good as gloves are, I don't like using them for gardening. It's only when I literally have the camera rolling and I have to wash my hands every 2 seconds. They just don't give you the same dexterity as bare hands, do they? So, I'm getting there. Oh, that wind is rattling around. So yeah, I probably should have done this over a border or somewhere I can collect up the used compost, but today that doesn't really matter too much. And there we are. So I'll tell you about a few care tips, how I'm going to look after these plants for the next month or so, and hopefully what I expect to see growing from them. Gunnera Manicata's then potted up, and now we've got full-on stormy weather again. The wind is absolutely howling around, the rain is coming down. I'm going to try and finish this video. Yes, I've got a waterproof camera, but this is something else, isn't it? That wind really is strong. So this Gunnera Manicata then, I'll try to calmly talk about the care tips. The first thing that I've already mentioned is not to let it dry out. You don't want the Gunnera to dry out at all, especially at this stage. And with them being in small pots, that will mean staying on top of the watering as it does eventually start to warm up. Maybe every couple of days, couple of times a week, give it a good soak in. You can potentially stand them in a tray of water. I wouldn't do that over winter, but definitely to keep them through this next stage, that could be worth doing. And the other thing, probably the most important thing, is to keep them somewhere sheltered, somewhere shaded. Because a plant like this with big leaves and a small undeveloped root system doesn't want the demands that a hot sun, yes, I know I can use the phrase, a hot sun would actually create. So if you can keep it somewhere tucked in close to your house, not only will that hopefully protect it from any late frosts that happen, but it also protects it from that really strong midday sun that hopefully we might have sometime soon. So basically what I'll be doing with these, just tuck them in near the house where I know that frosts don't get to. I won't put it into the polytunnel or greenhouse because on a hot day, when it can reach 30 degrees, again, that might be too much for it. If you can keep them protected from the frost, the harsh midday sun, and keep them well watered, a plant like this, once it's filled this pot, if you pot it up, you'll get leaves over 1 metre across by the middle of summer. That really is incredible. So there we are, 2 new Gunnera Manicata babies, one of my favourite plants, and it really is amazing to know that these plants have been shared around to other gardens. So thank you very much for watching. As always, if you've got any Gunnera Manicata questions or any other questions about different exotics, I try to get back to each and every person who leaves a comment, so go ahead, chuck them in there and I'll do the best I can. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. See you later.